Support for Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are essentially the same as of today. Here is the recent polling that has come out. I want to show this to you guys. This is just kind of the last 5 days or so, and it's really interesting. If you look, these are just a string of polls from different people. Some of them are more right-wing associated, some are more left. It's about half and half. I mean, we are in a dead heat at this point, again, in the general election, which, as I've said from the very beginning, a Democrat is going to need to be like 3 points up on a Republican in order to win the general election, just because of how the Electoral College is shaping out. So I actually don't think these numbers are super bad for Donald Trump, but they're not great. I mean, he was up 3 or 4% nationally on Joe Biden before, so it's not great. But it could be worse. This is a noticeable shift from where we were before. And here's an interesting thing about the polls that people haven't talked about. Now, I know what you're saying. People have said it a lot. The polls are inaccurate. The polls were inaccurate in 2016. They were mostly inaccurate in 2020 as well. You're absolutely right. But something that people don't talk about is seeing the shift in polls. It doesn't point us to where we are, but it does point us to where the momentum is going. And so what I mean by that is, I don't know what the true number is. Like, if the election was today, I don't know where we would fall in the popular vote. Maybe it would be like 50-50. And maybe the polls are right, but maybe it's way wrong. Maybe Harris is way up. Maybe Trump is way up. I would assume Trump is probably doing a little better than the polls are saying, since that tends to be the case. But what I am saying is that, again, I don't know where we are on the scale, but I do know that all the polls have been shifting left towards Harris. And so what that tells me, that the momentum is falling away from Trump. Now, again, this is the honeymoon phase, so I do think, and there's not a lot of time, so that honeymoon phase is going to occupy most of the rest of the election cycle, but I do think we're going to see it go back a little bit towards Trump. Again, though, what is important about this, the momentum is behind Harris, and that has to change, because if the momentum continues, I mean, again, there's been a 3-point swing already away from Trump. If there were another 3-point swing, the race would be over, theoretically. I mean, again, I don't know where the polls are, but a 6-point swing is hard to come back from wherever you are on the polls. I will put one caveat on that, however. I want to show you a poll this is kind of the aggregate of the polls from 2020. You'll remember, again, this is November 3rd. This is literally like the election. This was in 2020, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Joe Biden, again, this isn't one poll. This is an aggregate of all the polling averages. Joe Biden was up 8.4% nationally on Donald Trump, and he barely won by straight up like 30,000 votes in some key counties. So, again, them being in a dead heat is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It could be. We don't fully know. I do find it suspicious, and I think conservatives and Republicans should be really careful to do this. They are really skeptical on the polls. Okay, fair enough. But then when we see the polling is going well for Trump, they're not so skeptical. I would really caution against that. If you're going to be skeptical of the polls, be skeptical. That's fine. But at the same time, you got to fight like heck till the end, even if Donald Trump is winning. You can't just suddenly not be skeptical in the polls just because Donald Trump is ahead. But again, seeing this poll with Joe Biden and Donald Trump tells you that, Kamala Harris could be up a few points in the polls, and Donald Trump could be totally fine if, that holds true. Again, 2016, 2020, 2024, if it's the same as those last two elections, that's probably the case. So Trump could easily still win. The question is, though, what will he do to get his butt in gear to put the fire to Kamala Harris? Because again, like I said, the momentum is for her. If you don't think that's true, you're not looking at what's going on. There is momentum with her. Because Kamala, and here's the reason why. Kamala Harris has not been asked one single tough question since she became the presumptive nominee. It hasn't happened. And we know that the media won't do it. She might be able to get through this whole election cycle without the media doing it. So what we can do as Republicans or conservatives, you can look at that and you can whine and you can complain. You can say, the media should do their job. But here's the thing. We know they're corrupt. We know they want Kamala to win. So here's what we need to do. Take accountability, and rather than whining about it, say, okay, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to put the fire to Kamala Harris? And the answer is, to me, what Trump can do is that he needs to be bullish about the debate. He needs to attack her head on, because if the media won't do it, he needs to do it. He needs to stop being so nonchalant, as I talked about in the episode yesterday. He needs to be way less nonchalant about this debate thing. He's just being kind of chill about it. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe she won't even be the nominee. All that could be fine and true. But in terms of what the American people are saying, he needs to be bullish. He needs to go in on her. He needs to ask her some very poignant, tough questions that he happens to know the answer to. And then in the debate, he needs to be absolutely prepared and not go off into weird tangents like he's done in the past. He needs to be on it. Not talking about January 6th or Project 2025. He needs to talk about immigration, economy. Why did you lie to us about Joe Biden's mental health? Answer the question. Why did you lie about it? Why did you put 1,500 black men in jail in California for marijuana use and then talk about how the police shouldn't exist and talk about how evil it is to put black men in jail? Why? These are some really poignant, easy questions that Donald Trump could do. But again, it's not going to be a winning strategy if he just kind of sits back and is nonchalant. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please go down below, comment, like, and subscribe, and watch another video.